Greetings and welcome on down to another edition of What's Trending in Sconville. The single most important issue on the top of the minds of Guyanese right now is Venezuela's aggression towards us as regards to Essequibo. We did a two-part series in which we've outlined the historical facts of the conflict up until now. Check the description for the links to those videos. In this episode of The Skunks, I will give my thoughts on the matter. So, strap yourselves in and peep the intro. Things are about to get muddy.
Hey, something ever surprise you like when you see Tigala? What?
This week's episode is sponsored by the usual suspects: Sheriff Security, GT Eats, and Powered Automotive. Now let's jump right in. This video is being prepared on December 2nd, 2023. In just a few hours, Venezuelans will be heading to a vote to answer 5 questions put to them by the Maduro regime regarding Essequibo. The questions are carefully worded to get a yes from the voters. Question 5 is, do you agree with the creation of the Guyana Essequibo state and the development of an accelerated plan for comprehensive care of the current and future population of that territory that includes, among others, the granting of citizenship and Venezuelan identity cards in accordance with the Geneva Agreement and international law, consequently incorporating said state on the map of Venezuelan territory? This particular question got our government alarmed, and we went to the international court to ask for an order to stop Venezuela from asking this question among 2 others, or at minimum, order Venezuela not to take any action based off the responses of these questions. An emergency hearing was held on November 14th and 15th, and the court issued orders yesterday, in which Venezuela is claiming is a victory for them as well as Guyana. In my opinion, the orders leave a lot to be desired. Here are the orders.
The court recalls that its orders indicating provisional measures under Article 41 of the statute have binding effect and thus create international legal obligations for any party to whom the provisional measures are addressed. I shall now read out the operative part of the order. For these reasons, the court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. Unanimously. Pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over that area. 2. Unanimously, both parties shall refrain from any action which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve.
In other words, the orders are for both parties to calm the fuck down. Now, I expected this type of vague language from the court because Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and what they do within their own borders is none of our business, nor the business of the international court. Nevertheless, Maduro has already indicated that his country does not recognize the jurisdiction of the International Court on this matter, which they believe should be settled in accordance with the Geneva Agreement. The very same agreement which resulted in the case touching down at the ICJ in the first place. I know it sounds mad. That's because it is mad. It's a madman we're dealing with. Even his name begins with mad. Let me step away from all that for a second and take a look at what's happening in Guyana. First, we started out with a sensitization campaign about the 1899 award, which granted us the legal right to Essequibo. Around the same time, we started sharing our map on social media and pasting up bumper stickers with the slogan, Essequibo is we own. There were a number of symposiums with academics discussing the issue. Prayers and some circle of unity is scheduled for tomorrow. Our president, vice president, and other top-level government officials are currently overseas. Prezzo is scheduled to return today, they say. We got the Guyana Defense Force posting a heavily photoshopped photo on their Facebook page, despite telling us that we should only trust information coming out from the government. Apart from all that, there have been a number of statements from various countries and organizations saying they support us from afar. You know, like when you're in the ring getting the skunk beat out to you and the coach say, yeah, you got this. While that is happening, people are fleeing border areas where there are Venezuelan military buildup on the other side. In Guyana, the feeling on the ground is nervousness, fear, and uncertainty. To make matters worse, we are being subjected to public relations that resembles a political campaign. Even in the midst of a national crisis, the PPP is still pushing their One Guyana Party slogan down we throats. Now, I am Mudwato, and I don't collect a single cent from the government, so I am not forced to propagate the government's narrative. I am free to tell the truth about my observations. So let's assess a few points of concern from me and a few other Guyanese who are not allowing anyone to blindly lead them and who have brains to process information on their own without someone having to give them an interpretation. Concern number 1. We are facing an existential threat to our entire Essequibo region from Venezuela, which has both the will and military capabilities to take control of the region. Guyana does not have the manpower nor equipment to stave off a military or even a civilian incursion onto Essequibo. Venezuela has already made it clear that they don't recognize the authority of the International Court on this matter, and they will be coming. In fact, they have set a date. Listen.
Gobierno independiente, enero del 25, vamos por la recuperación plena de nuestro territorio Esequibo. Llueva, truene o relampaguee.
They're coming on January 25th, they said. This man is a purported opposition member, and I don't believe the date was meant to be publicly announced. But a source inside Venezuela confirmed that is the date Maduro set to come over. Concern number 2. Guyana is primarily depending on the USA to aid us militarily when this issue escalates. If you were observing US foreign policy on matters similar to Guyana's situation, you would not have so much confidence in the US as our government seems to have. Here goes my visa now. The US is weak and is being led by one of the weakest presidents in their entire history. The most I expect from the US is more sanctions against Venezuela, and they may supply us with equipment to fend for ourselves. Do not expect US boots on Guyanese ground. Guyanese seem to think of the US as our big brother, who will step in and take care of this Venezuela problem for us. As much as we would like to think of the US as our big brother, Venezuela also has a big brother who is backing them financially and militarily. Those fighter jets that were flying over Guyana a while back, where do you think Venezuela got them from? Now let me ask you this. How many fighter jets did we get from the US? I'll wait. Before we get to concern number 3, now is a good time to tell you that the number 1 security service in Guyana is Sheriff Security. For armed or unarmed guards and high-tech security solutions, the Sheriff is at your service. Plus, they're looking for more guards. If you're looking for work during this robbery season, visit Sheriff on Sheriff Street, Sir Brianville, and tell them Modwata sent you. And if you're hungry, GT Eats is an app that lets you order food in Guyana from top restaurants and pay securely online with your credit or debit card. You could download the GT Eats app at the Apple or Android stores. And Powered Automotive Truck and Engine Parts sends a thank you to all the customers who took advantage of their Black Friday sale and got 30 to 50% off items. Them truck man get an early Christmas for nice of the trucks. Big up Powered Automotive, the number 1 heavy-duty truck and engine parts store in Guyana. Now on to concern number 3. It is always important to get your information from various credible sources. In Guyana, the government completely controls the media. Not so much with force, but by other contemporary means you could ask newsroom and Guyanese shitix about. You only know what they want you to know. You even feel what they program you to feel, but you don't know it. At Guyana Uncut, we like to hear how people who don't live in Guyana perceive us and our situation. There's an interview where these 2 gentlemen discuss the possible invasion of Guyana that I urge all Guyanese to watch, including Mr. President. When you're done here, go and search Off Leash Episode 8 on YouTube. Some key takeaways from that discussion are that this issue is being taken serious by outside observers, while Guyanese are being told that Venezuela can't do nothing because the International Court ruled in our favor. They pointed out that Guyana's oil discovery is the single largest new energy discovery in the entire Western Hemisphere, meaning the stakes are very high. One of the interesting opinions shared is that Exxon does not care about Guyana. They care about the oil. And they don't care whether they are paying royalties to Guyana or Venezuela. The discussion is very insightful. The person being interviewed is a private military contractor who has conducted operations in Guyana. Must take a listen. Now back to my concerns. Number 4. Guyana is in a crisis, and the president and vice president ran the skunt out of Guyana at this critical time. Them man ain't got no kinna. PPP supporters will look at me like this for saying this, but y'all need to call out skunt when y'all see skunt. People are already nervous about this whole thing, and y'all skunt in Dubai telling people about calm down in Guyana. Me care if y'all don't shame out all y'all shaming. I shame for y'all mother skunt. And finally, my concern number 5. The government projects confidence that there will not be any invasion of Guyanese territory by Venezuela. I understand the need to keep the country calm and avoid a run on the banks, panic shopping, and outright chaos. But shouldn't we at least have a contingency plan in case things don't work out the way we planned? Shouldn't we be advising people on how to prepare for an emergency situation? Especially for those living closer to the border regions. Shouldn't there be an emergency evacuation plan in place where everyone is sensitized on what they need to do? I don't think this will create panic, will it? Let me make this last point before I leave. This is my opinion, right? The best thing we Guyana could do to save ourselves from Venezuela is to agree with Venezuela that the US is a crass. We don't need to fire a single bullet or give up a single inch of our territory. The reason Maduro is coming is because he takes umbrage at the US, and Russia is pushing him. These are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments. I like read them long, views out comments. Y'all come let we debate. My name is Madwato. Boom out!
Hold up.